Hi there. This is another Insta Live on a Saturday afternoon where I'm going to chat to one of my teacher trainee graduates. So I'm going to invite Sandie, Garrad, Parry to come and join us. I'll just do that in a sec. And she is inside out yoga and recovery. So I'm just going to find her and see if we can get her in here. Inside out yoga and recovery. Heels. In. Hello, she's there. She's waving. Hopefully, in a moment, she will join us. I'm just saying hi to all the other people that's joined. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. It's so nice to see you.
And you? How are you, darling?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, I'm a bit late because I had to quickly, unexpectedly go and eat loads of biscuits. There we are. I'm just seeing who's with us. Oh, Leela's with us. Hi, Leela. So good to see you. And I'm trying to wave. I'm waving at you now, which possibly is unnecessary because I could do it in real life like this. So let me just, I can't do it now. Okay, hi, ladies. Leela says, hi yourself, lovely lady.
Hello, darling.
So this is Sandie. This is one of our lovely Insta Live chats. I've been having them recently with some of my TTC graduates because, quite frankly, I think they're amazing, and I'm like this mother hen that's so proud of all the work that they do as they continue on their journey. So I invited Sandie to come because she's doing absolutely amazing work at the moment. Well, probably all the time, not just at the moment. And I can see you're in your lovely yoga shed and you've got your chakra pictures up there and you've got some lovely illustrations. It's been lovely watching Sandie's yoga shed, be born through lockdown. Your amazing husband.
I know, he's so clever. He's doing the garden at the moment. He's making a path up, a lovely path to the Sandie shack.
So nice, the Sandie shack. Okay, so do you want to start by telling us who you are, and you can begin telling us your yoga journey. Like, why did you start practicing yoga, and when did you start practicing yoga?
Oh, well, okay. My name is Sandie, obviously. I'm 52, and I started. The first time I went to a yoga or had any involvement with yoga was when I was in a treatment centre. When I was, I'm in recovery from addictions. I was in a treatment centre. I was 3 years sober, but not coping very well in my sobriety. So I went to a treatment centre run by nuns in the deepest, darkest Kent, and they had a yoga session every week. And the woman, I think I was about 25 at the time, and the woman, I think, in my perception, was old, and it wasn't. I didn't have any expectations because I'd never really had anything to do with yoga before. I was too busy trying to stay alive, and it was just amazing. It was just amazing. Every Thursday afternoon, we'd meet in this beautiful lounge area, and we'd do yoga. And I can't really remember too much about it, to be honest, because I was in quite an emotional state. So that was my very first connection with yoga. Something did connect for me in so much of what it gave me after doing yoga, but there was no preconceived notion. And then through my recovery, have dabbled little bits, but it was about 5-6 years ago where I really started seriously practicing. But that wasn't through classes and stuff because I didn't have the confidence to go to classes. It was all on the YouTube.
So when did you get your confidence to go to classes, and what changed? How, or did you not? Did you just go from YouTube to doing teacher training?
But basically, I went to a few classes, but I come from it from a different perspective, really, because God, I hope this doesn't sound prejudiced or it just wasn't something. Yoga and all that was just not something in my remit to go and do. It wasn't really advertised around, but I very much made the connection in my recovery to movement and how that would help me. So I used to dance a lot, and I'm not talking professionally, I just mean around my house, and move to music. It was a form of therapy for me to move, and music's a very big part of my life, big part of my recovery, my healing journey. And I just found stuff on YouTube that I would do. I went to a couple of classes, but I didn't really gel because I think I was expecting more than what was being offered. I come from 12-step meeting and I was expecting depth.
Right. Yeah.
There wasn't depth. It was just all about the asana. And I don't know, I suppose I was expecting a connection and I was left found wanting, but I don't know if that was because I was still a bit prickly then or what that was about, to be honest. But it didn't really gel for me. So then an event that happened in my life just propelled me to want to take it out. And I didn't even have a clue why. It just was, well, divine inspiration, actually. Now looking back, of course, I've been led my whole life to find you, which again in itself was just miraculous. Because I'd never heard of you before in my life. Didn't really know anything about teacher training. I was kind of flirting with the idea of doing something else because a friend of mine who is also in recovery was learning to teach yoga, because she was a meditation teacher and she wanted to broaden her, what's the word?
Horizons
yeah, just who she could reach, because people weren't really coming for meditation. And I was sort of flirting with the idea, but it just didn't feel comfortable. So I trolled the internet, basically, looking for teacher training, and I just came across you, and something connected. And I shared it. I showed you to one of my really dear friends, and I said, "What do you think?" And she's like, "Yeah," because you were very much emphasis on chakras and stuff. And I knew I needed something quite deep. And then I think I messaged you, and you rang me. And it was after
we had a lovely chat. Yeah, we had a lovely chat.
I was like, but what was interesting was that people were saying, "What do you mean you've never met this woman? Who you know?" Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, it just feels right. And then the rest is history.
Oh, that's so amazing. So you did. So I don't know if you want to share the event that led you down the teaching path, but which you can if you want. But you were doing it, and it wasn't enough depth. And then you decided that teacher training, you just had to kind of take it seriously, or you wanted to move your life into that direction? Because some people go into teaching because they want to be in a position where they're going to do yoga for the rest of their lives. I think I went into yoga teaching for that, because I was thinking, what do I actually want to do with my life? And all I wanted to do was yoga. So I went to do teacher training so that I could actually just do yoga and nothing else for the rest of my life.
It was oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. You take over.
It was, I was in recovery, being sober for, I think, 25 years or something. And it's very much yoga and the 12 steps, actually, now I know, are very connected. And I was on a spiritual, it sounds so pretentious, I was on a spiritual journey. But I just know for me, with addiction is, for me, in a nutshell, and I'm only talking for myself, not a 12-step program or anything, is about seeking connection, regulating the nervous system through externals. And so I was in this 12-step, and I was very used to being accountable, responsible, self-inquiry, following a spiritual path, but something was missing. And I was still having emotional rock bottoms ad nauseum. And my brother, sadly, tragically died of addiction, which sent me spiraling. And well, it sent me spiraling. It also gave me the incentive. It's like, I've got to do something. I don't know how. Even then, I didn't really know the connection with yoga. I just knew I needed to do something in order to get myself out there, to be able to get the message about healing from addiction out there more. And then when I found yoga and got into your teacher training and how deep it was in the philosophy, and it all just joined the dots. And I think the thing that had been missing for me spiritually was the physical. I know that might sound mad, but how much we store feelings in our bodies and the nervous system, and how movement can heal. And because meditation wasn't something that was easy for me, because I come from a place of trauma, of complex PTSD. So to meditate has been really challenging because I can be triggered. So the fact that you offered so many forms of meditation through yoga, moving meditation, japa meditation, the asana in itself is a form of meditation for me, has just been so transformative. Your whole teaching training course was so transformative for me. I remember the time where my heart just connected, and it was at the Shanti Center, and you were singing, I think it was coming out of the Yoga Nidra, and you were just singing the Tim Chalice chant of this place, and something just shifted, and even now I feel emotional talking about it, and it was just like my heart opened. It was a physical sensation, and it was really profound. Yeah,
Nice.
so that was, I went all around the houses there, didn't I? I went off in a jump.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is what it's all about. It's just an awesome thing. And I kind of feel like I've watched this part of this transformation. I mean, obviously I didn't know you before, but it's like, for me, it's like it started at the teacher training. And it just kind of, it sent you like deeper and deeper and deeper. And I feel like there were periods of, you know, where you had to go and kind of process a bit more and kind of go deep and like question again, and like, but this is happening and this is happening and I still don't get it. And then you were ready for some more. And then, you know, over the years that have passed, and now obviously you're going to do the 300 hours starting in September, which is amazing. And I feel like, you know, after the teacher training, you came and did the Transform and Inspire, and it was like the next little, it's like you're kind of doing these like layers. And I find that with my teacher training, that like often, you know, people get it and they have the moments, but it's like if you see them a couple of years later, it's like some incredible thing has happened to them where, you know, they got it on a certain level, and then they continued to kind of let that stuff filter in. And it's not me, it's the yoga, really. It's just kind of being put onto a path, and then just like little bits filtering down. And when you're ready, when you're in the right space, the next shift happens.
Well, I disagree, because I do think you are a huge part of it, because for me, someone that has been so distrusting in their life and not always made the right choices in trusting people, but you had this amazing ability to not be controlling, not make it about your agenda, make it about the people that you're teaching, and to get us to a safe place in order to let go. And that, as for a teacher to do, is phenomenal. To allow the space to be sacred enough for people to be able to let go. And that is just a wonderful thing that you offer. And the fact that, you know, the openness and how inclusive you are of everybody, and everybody in their physical sense, in their mental sense, in their emotional sense, and the way that you lead gently, teaching, not pushing, but pushing and just enough, but knowing when to hold back, and just treating a person as a whole individual, but collectively together, very powerful. So I disagree. I think you will have a huge part to play.
Thank you, darling. Well, I think that is what being a yoga teacher has always been for me. It's holding space, and you know, we do cover that in the TTC. You know, I think that it's a concept that you have to kind of master. Well, you don't have a choice in it. If you're gonna, you know, and sometimes it gets messy and it's exhausting, and you need to look after yourself if you're going to be a space holder. But it's also just allowing or just trusting in the body and the mind's innate capacity for healing. All you have to do is hold space for someone, and they will heal themselves. You know, give them time. Yeah, come on. This is great afternoon chat. But it's the body wants to heal. It wants to. And it's has this tremendous capacity to heal, and that's body as in body and mind and spirit and soul, and like in its whole entirety. So being able
Absolutely.
to sort of hold space where you can just let that person take over and just kind of unfurl. And yeah, it's messy and it's exhausting, but I don't
But
know another way.
that's really hard to do if somebody's ego then comes in. I'm talking about especially if someone who's spiritually bypassing, and people who spiritually bypass is because they're in pain, they can't deal with it. I understand that. But to take your agenda out of it and allow us as students to be able to find our own feet is really amazing. I mean, well, I can't even put it into words. Very special gift.
Great. And I love that you're carrying on and on and on. So now you have been mastering a new form in the yoga world. So do you want to tell us about because you've been doing this, you keep putting lovely posts about your yoga, your 12 steps, your recovery, you've
Right.
changed your handle. Now you've kind of slowly, and I think you're a bit resistant to this before. I think that you didn't necessarily want to be involved in that place that was so part of your journey. But I think bit by bit, if I haven't got it completely wrong, you have embraced that and know that you'll be a really fucking good spiritual coach to this kind of environment. You've lived it. So, you've moved into this area. Oh, someone's saying hi from Sydney, Australia. Hi.
Oh, hi. Good day. Sorry, is that...
you had to do it. I'm glad I didn't do it. So do you want to tell us about how your journey now with yoga is shifting? Maybe it's shifting, maybe it's not. But what I'm seeing is that you're really becoming a niche yoga instructor in this realm of recovery and addiction. So tell us about that.
Well, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here, and I'm talking yours because when I finished the teacher training, it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And for the first 2 years, what I did, because I wasn't really sure, and you're absolutely right, I was resistant to it. I just got myself on lists of people, and anywhere that somebody needed a yoga teacher, I went and did it. Regardless of whether my mind wanted to, because I was almost reverse snobbery. I've got this thing, and again, I suppose it's from the 12 step to make it accessible that everybody is welcome. And a lot of yoga environments, you have to have money to pay and stuff like that. So I even ended up in these environments teaching, and I had to make peace with that and realize it doesn't matter what your circumstances, everybody deserves and is entitled to the offerings of yoga regardless. So I was a reverse snob, I think. So I had to work through that, and I ended up teaching chair yoga, children's yoga, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't had the basic tools and the confidence in myself, but with imposter syndrome as well, because of that. I think that just goes with teaching. And
then it goes with being human, doesn't it?
I guess so. Then I just got really interested. I took a CPD on somatics in yoga. And I don't know, then I found out about Y12SR, which is the yoga of 12-step recovery. And it was formed by a woman in recovery called Nikki Myers, who has quite a similar journey in so much as she got sober and then became a yoga teacher. But then she stopped going to meetings and relapsed and realized the connection between the 12 steps and yoga was just about joining the dots. And in addiction, the issues are in our tissues, definitely. And it's about healing the nervous system, because I didn't understand, coming from a place of trauma. I always felt I couldn't meditate because there was something wrong with me. I wasn't spiritual enough, not good enough to do it. I didn't understand the effects of some of the things, my perceptions in life that happened to me that hadn't been processed was still in my body. Yeah. Again, it's all timing, the higher power leading. So I think if I'd become a yoga teacher any time before, I would have been one of those yoga teachers that were about the asana, and because I have a well, not so much now, I'm getting older, strong physical practice, because I'm quite strong physically. Yeah. And in your teaching, your teacher training, I can't remember if we had the conversation, but I don't know if you recognize them, but I knew I had to pull back a little bit, because I could make it too much about the physicality, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So I decided to do the training for Y12SR because it just seemed perfect for me. The 12 steps, which I love, certain aspects of the 12 steps, and yoga, connecting the joints. And it's I wouldn't say hybrid, they just complement each other beautifully. So I'm now certified to be a Y12 step SR leader, which means basically I hold space for people. And the first part of the class is a normal sharing as you would in a 12-step recovery. It's open to anyone affected by addiction or has addiction. So that can be a substance addiction, a behavioral addiction, or you could have a family member, a friend who has an addiction that's affected you. So all the A's are welcome. And then the second part of the class is a gentle, somatic-based yoga practice, very much because addiction, exercise can be an addiction and can be triggering for people. So I have to pull it back and keep it not so much about the physical. So there's meditation, very much about mudras and sound, japa meditation, as well as the physical. So it's just marrying the two together, basically. But it's beautiful, beautiful. And it's an honor and a privilege to do it.
Amazing. And are you leading like classes, regular classes, or I mean, how is it kind of, how does it look? Do you have, you're doing Zoom stuff from your lovely Sandie shack, aren't you?
At the moment, because of COVID, I'm doing just one a week on Zoom on a Monday evening, and it's going really well. And the women, well, it's mainly women. I don't know if it's not open to just women. They're phenomenal, and their courage, because some people have done yoga and some people have never done yoga. Their openness and their honesty and it's just lovely. It's a real privilege, actually, and it's what I wanted from my first yoga class. I think I wanted the depth. I suppose it's like a satsang, really, with yoga, rather than just be a physical asana class.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, it's nice for me because I can teach a bit more. That's why I'm so excited to be on the 300-hour teacher training, a bit more about the philosophy of yoga and how it is so similar to the 12 steps. And for me, yoga, I've always been interested in the Eastern philosophies anyway, and I just think it's so beautiful and it just really resonates with me. So I'm really looking forward to Leela teaching her philosophy.
Going to be amazing. And where do you think, because I think like when we go through the teacher training, we look at the philosophy, we learn a lot about the conditioning. Our minds are conditioned, and I think once you start to unpack that, you realize you know, how kind of trapped we are by the mind. And I think, do you think why yoga is so, or can be so, I mean, I understand that maybe yoga could be really quite bad for addiction problems, you know, if it's an addictive practice and you're just doing it to stay in this kind of safe place rather than to rock the boat. You know, I think a lot of people do practice yoga to keep everything the same, and that's sort of like, I don't know, what do you think?
It's an attachment. It would be an attachment. Like if you're attached to your physical practice and you have to do it every single day, and if you don't, you feel shit. That is where it becomes a bit of a blurred line, because it's not, again, looking at our attachments, what externally are we doing and how do we feel when we don't do them? And that's why COVID and the lockdowns are doing so, because people self-regulate, everybody's self-regulating, and it's whether the self-regulation is well, when I say healthy or unhealthy, whether it works, because you wouldn't do it unless it served you in some way. So even drinking and food addiction and all those, it serves at some point, it saves you, but then it turns and becomes destructive. And it's about unpacking that. And I think that's because yoga so forces you to be in the present moment as well, but especially with pranayama, the breath work. You have to come back into the body, because that's what it does when you breathe properly, but you know, fully. And if you're just doing the physical, it's a way of numbing, it's a way of avoiding. So yeah, there is a very fine line, and the mind, addiction very much about the mind, and learning for me in yoga why it's so perfect for addiction about the koshas, that you do have the wisdom mind, because I'm not criticizing the 12 steps now, but they say you don't go into your mind on your own, it's a dangerous place. In our recovery, yes, but there is a point where we get to in recovery where you have to stand on your own 2 feet and begin to trust. I think the greatest thing you lose as an addict in any addiction is the ability to trust, and this innate intelligence of our body. The spirit connection is just all there. It's just covered up. Like you say, the conditioning. This is how you're supposed to act. I mean, for me to be sober, as long as I have in a society that just glamorizes drinking, is really challenging sometimes, because it just is. Again, it's about looking at the externals rather than going within. And there's this woman who calls it inner size, not exercise. Nice. And even when I'm teaching, like in the community, I teach 2 classes in the community, and they're just, anybody can come. I say this isn't an exercise class. So if that is, I always, my prerequisite is always to say that, because I don't want people to have that expectation. I can't manage people's expectations, but you know what I mean. I need to set my stall out at the beginning to say, this might not be like you've been to before, even though I'm teaching in a leisure centre, which is about fitness. This is about fitness, but it's about the mind, the breath, and your spirit. That has a hard time in our society, though, talking about spirituality, because people think of God and Christianity, and you know, my husband is probably one of the most spiritual people I know, and he has no belief, but his spirituality is nature. That's his higher power, and that's naturally innate for him. So it doesn't have to be.
I know, that's like Rupert. Rupert's got this natural zen to him that it's just like he's never had to work for it. He doesn't have to do yoga all that bloody time. And like, you know, my life just is continual. Just like, when will I be calm? I'm giving up now, obviously. Some people are just like naturally stuck, and you know, like he hasn't got any. You know, God or anything like that. He's just, you know, he's just his Zen nature. What I was going to say, have you found that through COVID times, you've come into contact with people who have maybe kind of, well, I don't want to say relapse, but obviously our distractions were taken away, weren't they, with lockdown? And I know that this has been quite a problem for a lot of people. You know, things that they used to numb out with were not available anymore. And I think you realise the nature of your addictions and your numbing mechanisms. So I was just wondering, have you found that like there's people coming to you that have, you know, maybe relapse or just kind of, I don't know, through the lockdown, through the taking away of distractions, maybe you could be a guiding light for that kind of thing?
Not so much in the recovery community, because I think in the recovery community, people are you have to, nature of the beast, to be aware of when you're beginning to become disconnected. I would say more people around me, I've noticed, really struggling when they're, for me, my life wasn't really that much different in lockdown for me, because I don't go out and drink. I don't compulsively shop anymore. I don't overeat, so I haven't put on weight, because I am mindful about eating. Food was one of my addictions as well, and shopping and that, and I kind of have awareness about that. So it wasn't really taken away from me, because I have to manage it every day anyway. So I've noticed more people peripheral, like at my day job, mental and emotional, and I think sadly, or is it sadly, because I think nervous breakdowns are terribly, terribly underrated, because every nervous breakdown that I've ever had in my life has led to a breakthrough. So I like to look at them as breakthroughs rather than breakdown. It's whether you have support in place, I suppose, afterwards, and the ability to ask for help and to not feel ashamed of struggling if you're having an emotional crisis or a mental health crisis. Very much the stigma is changing, and this is where I'm feeling I want to go with yoga. because yoga, people have a lot of prejudice about yoga because they don't understand it like I didn't. It's about breaking stigma and showing people just how beautifully healing it can be.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's cured anything. It's given the ability to hold space for myself. I think that, and my goal as a teacher is to instill confidence in people to hold their own space, so they won't need a teacher. So I'm going to do it all out of the job. No, I'm not going to be that. That would be my goal. I've had some messages from people that have sort of said, thank you for starting me off on my journey. And I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. Because you're my inspiration. So I want to take myself out of the equation and allow people to find their own flow, to find what works for them, that isn't going to kill them, that's going to help them grow and not even be the person they were meant to be, because who they are now in this moment is enough. But just have that acceptance and awareness of themselves. I think that takes a confidence.
Yeah. But I think, I think you've got that. I think you've got you've got an incredible amount of wisdom from your journey. And I think, I think people who have, struggled, are a bit broken, they do make fantastic teachers, because there's no spiritual bypass at all. I think if you're not a bit broken or haven't broken, then, would I really want to learn from someone who had never had anything difficult in their life? So I really want to learn yoga from someone who has never had a body issue, never had a mental issue, never had, anything difficult, never had any problem with their privilege. What would I actually learn in reality? How are they going to help me? In fact,
that would just make me feel more crap about myself if I was with someone that I didn't resonate with on some human level, some humanity there. I wouldn't go. And
I think it's in your brokenness that you have a chance. It's like make or break, isn't it? And even break sometimes, like you say, it's not that bad. I say that terribly lightly, but like you say, a breakdown is a breakthrough. And if you've got the right space, and there's a serendipity to it, the right time, the right space, you'll find your body's innate capacity for healing itself. Homeostasis is the norm. It's like what we're trying to find all around us, outside us and inside us. The internal and external worlds aren't so different. We're constantly seeking that balance. Even when we don't know it, even when we think we're self-sabotaging, or even when we are self-sabotaging, there's only a certain, leeway for that, hopefully. And obviously, some stories end tragically. But if you are lucky enough to have a teacher or a mentor on your path that can just guide you back to your own body's innate capacity for healing, then, if there are more teachers like this, then I'd be so happy. So what do you think was the best and most useful thing about your yoga teacher training?
Oh, God. I can't just name one thing.
Oh, you can name a few then. Go on.
I was like, oh my God, there's silence. I think the depth, the inclusivity, the openness. What was really helpful for me is the lack of shame that you didn't project, if that makes sense. I remember when we was first starting with the Ganesha meditation, and was it 30 days we were supposed to do it, and I don't think anybody did, but you were so accepting, and I've taken that with me with some, because it's like, oh, they haven't done it, they don't want to learn or something, but it's not, oh my God, if you just let people not do stuff, they naturally come back to it. So I think that you just would just leading us so beautifully, letting us do our thing, but there was a structure there as well. Well, just all of it. I love the philosophy. I love the fact that you went into all aspects, the good and the not so good in yoga, your humanity, the realism as well, no spiritual bypassing. all the feels. I often quote you on that.
All the feels.
So, and just how you make it so accessible for people, really, I think that's been the most. Have I answered your question?
You've answered it so well. I love that. Thank you. You can be my #1 advert. And I think, looking at the people who've done the teacher trainings with me, I've trained quite a lot of people now, which is very exciting. And they all look different. And I don't mean like how they look. I mean, they do all look different, obviously. But their lives they've all gone in different directions, but they've used their own experiences to bring this kind of the tools of yoga to the world around them. And I just think it's absolutely amazing. I'm really happy that you've gone down the path that you've gone down, and I can't wait to do more stuff with you. And I think like you found a lot of joy, and not that you weren't joyful before, but the joy has been pouring out of you of late.
When I was in treatment all those years ago, we had group every week where we were told one good thing about us and one not so good, one thing we needed to work on. So one strength, one weakness. And one of mine was have fun, because my joy has not been accessible for me. I've been very intense, very serious, everything, and just very prickly. So yoga has absolutely transformed. The joy now that I have in my life is just unfathomable, and I love it, because this is what I was looking for in drinking, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The natural highs I get that I've looked for in externals my whole life. Even in recovery, there was always a missing link that I couldn't quite, never felt like I was, everyone else is so spiritual, everyone else has got the instructions, and I can't do it because I don't feel like they do. I don't feel that serenity. I don't feel that joy. So coming to yoga and having that, being able to open up to for me to be able to be strong enough to hold space for myself, but have the softness of being open at the same time. What a juxtaposition.
Oh, I love it. It's giving me goose pimples. And how much do you reckon, Sandie, are you a menopausal lady now?
Yes, I am, and proud.
How much of your power has come from this, just kind of going through this menopause, just coming into your supreme power as a female force? Put yoga, then put menopause on her, and she explodes with joy.
The menopause has and it is really traumatic for people, absolutely, but I absolutely embrace it. I am loving this surge of power, that this has to be the most empowering time of my life, without a shadow of a doubt. With all the physical aspects of that, but to come into my own as a woman in recovery, a woman who is a yoga student first and foremost, and then being able to take it out into the world is just amazing. For those that dread coming into the menopause, I mean, don't believe everything that you read. And women just didn't talk about it so much, but now I don't know if it's because I talk about it, and normalizing things that the hot flushes and stuff like that. And there's certain techniques that I use in yoga, the pranayama, to cool myself down, and the breathing and all of that. And it just empowers me even more. It's amazing. It's an amazing time of life. Those who dread getting old, I say bring it on, bring it on. I love it.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think that's it from me. I think it's been so amazing. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I didn't even bring my clock, but I have a tendency to just speak on and on and on. But I am so grateful to know you, Sandie. I am so honoured that you came on my course. I'm so glad that serendipity pushed you. It's funny, actually, because I'm spending a lot of time trying to advertise this course. And some of the most amazing students that I've ever taught just came to me by complete accident. So it makes me think, like, what am I doing? But, you have to spread the word as well to try and, get people interested in the course. But yeah, I've loved watching your journey. I'm so happy that you're coming on the 300 hour. I think you're amazing, and you're going to lead so many people to this experience of peace and to enable them to hold space. And yeah, thank you so much for coming and sharing. And tell us your handle and all of your stuff. Have you got a website? Have you got, you know, one of your classes? Have a bit of a plug now.
Oh my gosh, now this, well, I don't have a website as yet. That's a work in progress.
But you are on here. You're
Inside Out Yoga and Recovery.
Follow her.
Facebook, Inside Out Yoga and Recovery. The meeting for the Y12SR, you don't have to be in a 12-step program to come along. It's for anyone suffering with addiction or a family member, or if addiction has affected you in any way, shape or form. It's on a Monday evening at 6 o'clock via Zoom. And my email address is sandie@yogaandrecovery.com. If you wanted to come along, and then I share this password and that from that. But it'd be lovely to see.
Do you have people with addictions? It could be any type of addiction: shopping, food, alcohol,
alcohol, drugs, people, sex, debtors. Well, addiction is so vast, vast. Like I say, it's not just people think addiction, they think alcohol and drugs, but you know, exercise. I know that's a huge problem, actually. That is a huge problem. And I often think that gyms masquerade as therapy couches sometimes, that people are there trying to, as I have done in my life, fix the outside, then the inside will be okay. And it's sparse backwards. It just doesn't, you know, it's got to come inside out.
Inside out. Oh, thank you so much, Sandie. You're so nice. Oh, you're brilliant. And I'll see you in September, the 300.
I'm so looking forward to it. I really am so looking forward to it. I can't tell you. Bring it on. Thank you, Steph. You're just amazing. I love you so much. Thank you.
I love you too. Okay, I'm going to end the live and I will see you in September, my darling. Thank you so much. I'll work out how to finish it now. Bye.